river. That wasn't too bad of a hike altogether today. Lots of wolves going up and down this river bar. Handful of moose. One old set of human tracks, probably fishing or something. I'm gonna get to sharing some emails from the slice of the real world here. A quick mention. We have a RCMP officer for a friend in town of Squamish. And just for a quick note, she told us that mental health issues are absolutely quadrupling just in that one small community of Squamish. And she said suicides are basically going off the chart. So I'd pass that on. If you know somebody who needs a little support, some help, you might want to look closely for them, all right? So I think a lot of people are probably doing it, hiding, keeping it hidden until they finally decide to pull the plug. But obviously the reaction that the people in control are having with the COVID shit is having a big impact on mental health and suicide. So reach out, keep an eye on each other, take care of each other, all right? They're not talking about that publicly. I don't know why. There you go. That's straight from the source of the first responders that have to deal with it. So what do we got? Hi Steve, I'm an avid bull hunter and appreciate your channel and the incredible hunt stories and the encounters you share. I emailed these 2 stories to you a couple months ago and wanted to resend again because in that time you've read 2 other encounters for the area I'm describing. Yeah, it kind of sucks, man. I get so many emails. It's crazy. It's easy for me to miss them. I want to make sure those who visit this area stay aware of what lives in the wild, and thank you very much for that. That's very kind and considerate. The scenery of this place is incredible and too beautiful to pass up even with potential encounters. So here are my stories. My stories are not as blood-curdling as others, but they have bugged me because I hesitate to tell anyone for fear of being ridiculed. I've had 2 encounters with something I cannot explain, both within 1 year of each other during my archery elk hunts in Utah's Ashley National Forest, specifically the northern slope of the Uinta Mountains. For your benefit, this area is northeastern Utah, just north of Vernal and the infamous Skinwalker Ranch by about 40 miles. Before my encounters, I had heard of stories of Sasquatch in this mountain range, and even the Flaming Gorge Reservoir Lodge sells Bigfoot merchandise, leading me to believe that there are plenty of other stories for this area. The first encounter, September 2018, I was in a hunt party of 3, including myself, my dad, and one of his buddies. We had been hiking up a trail about 3 to 4 miles off the dirt road where we parked the truck. At this point in the trail, it began to run parallel to a river. Just across the river, maybe 75 yards into the quaking aspen, we had heard a loud shriek that boomed through the trees as if it was on a loudspeaker. The sound was so loud and peculiar, all 3 of us stopped and looked at each other, all befuddled that we could pinpoint what it was. We couldn't see into the trees, but that sound was too peculiar to be anything we could think of. No one said what they thought it could be, but rather we just ignored the potential rabbit hole conversation and continued to hike. The second encounter was the following year, probably within 5 miles as the crow flies of the other encounter location. One evening my dad and I hiked off the trail up into some steep and thick timber to post up to see if any bulls would come poking through. I had my dad post up in some small pine trees while I hiked up about 100 yards further into the timber. I'd been posted up for about 20 minutes in dead silence. While sitting approximately a quarter mile up from me, I heard a loud guttural moan shriek. My brain immediately did not match it to any animal of any recognition, only matching it to the sound from the previous year. A chill went down my spine, and I decided it was time to leave. I went down the hill and told my dad there was no sign of elk, but explained the noise and how it reminded me of what we heard the previous year. My dad just looked at me, and I didn't want to say what I thought it was because I didn't have anything else to go off of. After watching your channel, I've since told him that I believe he came across a Sasquatch, but I don't believe he's convinced. Oh well. Yeah, and he doesn't have to be convinced, that's fine. But the fact that you just shared that with all of us is helpful as it is to many people, without a doubt. And we all appreciate you sharing that with all of us here, man. What else do we got? Hi, Steve. Huge fan. Can't wait to get home from work every night and tune into your latest video. I work 2 CD shift 2 2-10 in the automotive industry. Absolutely love what you're doing and admire you greatly. I've never had a sighting, but I've had an experience. All right, thanks for the kind words, man. I appreciate that. There have actually been quite a few sightings in the area where my experience occurred. And after what my brother and his friends seen, I thank God that I didn't see. Growing up, if I wasn't in school, I was in the woods. It was my sanctuary. We lived at the foot of a mountain. I knew every inch of that mountain like the back of my hand. I had clubhouses and trails all over those woods. There was one area in the valley of that mountain that I never really went. I didn't really think that much about it. I just never had the desire to go there. One day I decided to explore the area, and I found myself in a pine tree grove that had a carpet of pine straw on the ground, and against the valley there was huge boulders. It was a beautiful area, quiet, breathtaking. And I sat on the ground and leaned back against a pine tree, just taking it all in. When all of a sudden I felt the feeling that someone was standing behind me watching me. I turned and looked, but nobody was there. Then this feeling of dread came over me like I was in danger. Steve, I've never been so scared in my life. I didn't hear any audible voice, but something was telling me to run, and I didn't second guess it. I just got out of there as fast as I could and never went back. I've listened to your channel for about a year now, and hearing the many different experiences has made me look back to my experience and wonder, did something intentionally make me avoid that area all those years? If so, why did I go there when I did? It's strange to me that I went so long avoiding that area. I know me and how I love exploring the woods. Anyway, thanks again for all you do to help those who need a voice. You can use my name. I don't give a shit about those who don't believe or those who wish to suppress the truth. Stay safe, my friend, and God bless. Sincerely, Rick Rogers. Rick, appreciate it. Appreciate that share, man. And help out that feeling of dread out of the thin air. How unsettling is that? Isn't that just creepy and crazy? But I guess at least they're giving everybody a fair chance to vamoose, right? Instead of being put through the experience of seeing something like that standing right in front of you, and potentially robbing you of the rest of your life in the real world, which isn't really fair. Hi, Steve. I'm watching a while now, and I finally decided to send you my story. I live in Louisiana, in a small community where, as a kid, we stayed in the woods, either fishing or hunting. My first experience was one night I was coon hunting alone with just my dogs, walking from my parents, which I did regularly. This night I was getting close, probably about half a mile from home, when I suddenly just got this feeling that something just wasn't right. I could hear one of my dogs walking, so I called to her, and whatever it was stopped. I kept calling and nothing. I made my way home on the edge, and both my dogs were there in their pens. They had left me, and that had never happened before, and I always had to make them get in the pens. I don't know what it was, but something was there. The same summer, myself and 2 buddies were on our 3-wheelers, going to creek shoot snakes. We was heading down a tram, which is an old railroad that they pulled up the tracks and used for a gravel road, so you can see a long ways because it's just so straight. We was cruising on pretty good when something walks across the road way up ahead. Then it comes back across, then 2 came back across. It's too far to say for certain what exactly it was, but they were walking upright and they were big, and we didn't have bear back then. One of the guys to this day will tell anyone it was a Bigfoot. One of the guys to this day will tell anyone it was a Bigfoot. The other one won't talk about it. This happened when we was probably around 13, and I'm now pushing 50, and to this day I occasionally have dreams about it. I still hunt and fish regularly. I've never seen nothing like that since. Well, that's good. And that's a pretty crazy thing to see, isn't it? And isn't it amazing how it just retains and it makes a nest in our brain, in that crystal clear little chunk of our brain memory pocket, and it never leaves, and we remember every single detail. And I wonder just how long the average duration is that people go without thinking about them after they've seen them. Because like where I live, I have to drive, a couple hours to get to the coast, or an hour and a bit anyway. And it's through the Sea to Sky Highway. And the Sea to Sky Highway has so many sightings. It's ongoing. It's nonstop. It's crazy. And you just can't help but look in the river, look on the side of the mountain, look in the rock bluff. You're just naturally looking for them. You can't help yourself, which means you end up thinking about the damn things every single time you drive to town. and then they're crossing the road behind the house 200 yards away, right? But it'd be interesting for everybody who has seen these things. Maybe drop a comment in the comment section below and let everybody know what's the longest you've gone without thinking about these things at all. Like not a thought in your head about them at all after you've seen one. That'd be interesting to know that. Because most of the people I know, they relive or think about those things very, very often after they've seen them. That's why in the past I've said it's like a sentence. Seeing one of these things is basically a sentence, right? It's a baffling, lifelong sentence. But anyway, I'm gonna carry on, go somewhere else, do a little more exploring, get out of this wind. Holy crap. Man, the view that I've got that way is frickin' mind-boggling. I'm sure you guys have got a good one. Back this way too, but holy cow, this one I'm looking at is unreal. It's going to be weird moving away from here, not being able to just go run around here at the drop of a dime, but I'll be back. All right, what's this one called? My 2 cents. All right, you all know I've given my 2 cents a few times, might as well receive, right? Hello, Steve. Thank you for all your efforts to provide your followers with information that allows us to understand the stories independently, make our own decisions, which go beyond the Sasquatch issues. And thank you. You are welcome. No problem. And thank you to all your viewers who have stepped up to share the stories. I've followed your YouTube videos now daily for about 2 years. Holy shit, it's been that long. Crazy. And based upon your comments, I no longer seek out the worthless Bigfoot programs, whether they're on the TV or the internet. When your book was released, I immediately bought a copy and devoured it in 2 days. Can't wait for the new volume. And based upon some of your discussions, I bought Scott Carpenter's book, The Truth Denied, the Sasquatch DNA Story. I wasn't disappointed. That's a good choice. It's a frickin' good, informative book. I spent my entire career life in research and understand enough genetics to follow the Sasquatch genome studies. It was a real eye-opener. Until recently, I've always viewed the Sasquatch phenomenon 50-50, sometimes skeptical, but deep down wishing to believe. The genome studies had me reevaluate my private thoughts about my entire outlook. For your viewers who have not delved into Carpenter's book and the scientific studies by Dr. Melba Ketchum, she engaged several laboratories and fellow scientists to conduct DNA studies on purported samples from several Sasquatch specimens. After eliminating known specimens through morphological sampling, they centered on the unknown samples. The results are intellectually enticing. First, the mitochondrial DNA, which is derived solely from maternal sources, came back 100% human. However, the nuclear DNA, which is derived from both parents, came back as unknown. In addition, several gene markers were tested for Neanderthal, Denisovians, and apes. These all came back negative. Did you hear that? It all came back negative. In my estimation, the results of the genome studies indicated that Sasquatch are people, in some way distantly related to Homo sapiens. In my estimation, I no longer refer to them as creatures. To attempt to hunt them down like game, such as Oklahoma selling hunting permits, amounts to murder. Reading Carpenter's book, he fully defended the results of the Sasquatch Genome Project. However, it bothers me that so many so-called science researchers and Sasquatch organizations have gone out of their way to destroy Dr. Ketchum's work. You'd think they would embrace the results of such novel research in the field. Instead, they wish to defame her. As a scientist, one is supposed to approach a project with an open mind. If you wish to debunk a theory, one better step up to the plate with independent research supporting your own ideas. These people have an agenda that is not credible, more like a politician than a scientist. So what's the problem? Are they envious because they weren't the first one to make a substantial statement regarding the existence of Sasquatch? Or is it about money, like the television programs? More research is needed to clarify the results, but Dr. Ketchum's genome study is just the beginning. But I ramble on. Thanks again and keep up the good work. I don't know how you get all this accomplished. Doug Strange, Kutztown, Pennsylvania. Doug, appreciate it, and appreciate your 2 cents, and I fully agree. You know what's amazing is how easy it is to get the parrots, the echoes, to sing the same song only because they heard it on the internet, right? And I haven't a clue. That is probably a bigger mystery than the Sasquatch beings themselves, the people, is why does the community, the Bigfoot Sasquatch community, cannibalize each other so fiercely? I do not get it, man. They have absolutely hammered on each other ruthlessly, endlessly, and added to almost annihilating the chances of this topic being taken seriously by a lot of the planet. But I guess that's why we're here, all of us here, right? This channel is dedicated to the people, for the people, by the people, and that is a big, massive chunk of power, and that is why there's over close to 5 million views here a month, is people are coming here to listen to the people. Isn't that great? As far as the genome study, it wouldn't have mattered if it was Melba Ketchum or another scientist that took it on. It wouldn't matter who it was. It would have been the same outcome. Absolute full attack and discredit across the board, no matter what. The scientific community has been instructed and informed to never accept this as fact ever. I don't know why, and I don't care now either. They don't have my power, and obviously they don't have many of yours, and who needs them, right? The proof's in. For all you people that have seen and heard these, smelled these things, seen the footprints, the proof's in. If the scientific community doesn't want anything to do with it, well, see you later. You don't have to come over and play, that's for sure. What do I do, if anything? Hello, Steve. My name is Kelly. I've written you twice before. I live in the southeast Louisiana, and I've grown up enjoying all the fishing, hunting, crabbing, shrimping that Louisiana has to offer. I'm a 52-year-old auto repair shop owner and former reserve CB in the Navy. I'm married and have 2 teenagers. My wife and kids love to go out and fish on the boat. Well, since I wrote you about my experience on my motorcycle, it seems I have activated something. I haven't had an encounter for 10 years until I started telling the story to others. I've had 4 since I got the balls to tell anyone. It seems this being knows where I'm going to be. The first encounter 10 years ago was basically me pulling over on the side of the road to pee, and it running across the road, scaring the crap out of me. I didn't tell a soul in 10 years. I found your channel, and it was a relief to confirm I wasn't crazy or alone. I wrote to you and finally told my wife and children. They were very supportive and mostly just curious. They wouldn't be curious if they knew the fear that overcomes you in that moment. Sorry, ramble. Dude, don't apologize for rambling. I own rambling. I'm the king of rambling. I'm the Ayatollah of rambling. My main point is, since I've told the story, I feel I'm marked. It's getting windy. We can block that. My main point is, since I've told the story, I feel I'm marked. For 10 years, nothing while hunting and fishing, etc. Now, 4 times in a year. Every time it happens, I can feel it. I know it's there. Twice I actually saw it rather close while in my canoe. Like he was telling me, I know you told people. I could see his face, bulging biceps and pecs. It was huge. Maybe 8 feet tall with human-like face, body covered with reddish hair. Flat teeth and almost a smug grin. I was horrified both times. These experiences were at least 20 miles apart. I know it was the same being. The last 2 times my experience consisted of chatter or just a feeling of doom. My eyes will begin to water from the unimaginable fear. No smells, no actual eyes-on experience. I've actually learned that what you said was true. If I think to myself, I'm not here to harm you, and you're scaring me, the fear subsides. I can move from that area of the marsh or swamp, and everything is fine. Sometimes even stay after the feeling, and I can feel it's okay. Sometimes I'm told to leave, and I listen. The whole damn thing is so unreal, but very real. Any advice on how to get this being not an ape to just not contact me anymore? It's still extremely horrifying, but manageable in a way. You have a great platform, and what you said about thinking is telling them, I'm just here, I mean you no harm, works. I'd rather this being just leave me alone, though. I'm not going to stop hunting or fishing or anything I've done since I was a kid. Thanks, man. If you're ever in southeast Louisiana, email me. I'd like to have a couple of beers and take you speckled trout and redfish fishing. The scenery isn't as spectacular as the beautiful place you live in, but it's pretty in its own way, and I love it. Sorry about Mr. Macaroni. I know how that hurts. Kelly. Kelly, I don't know how much I can thank you for sending that email and sharing your kind words. Actually, everybody. It's you just have to appreciate everybody having the guts to come out and share what's going on, right? And for you personally, as far as I'm concerned, what I have done I have this one place. Of all the spots I've had, like there's a place right over here I don't go. It's right there where I had that was the last time I had the living crap scared out of me when I was looking for these things intently. It was only like probably a quarter mile upriver. I used to park back downriver, and I'd sneak up this riverbed to sneak into those meadows intentionally. Used to. And now that I don't want anything to do with them, I have this other spot, my favorite hunting spot, where the biggest buck on the planet is. I've been watching for like 4 years now, or 5 years, and unfortunately, I've heard a scream there. I found footprints. I had weird glowing things on my trail camera there once, and I had something really creepy happen to me while I was sitting in my pickup truck in the dark. I was actually texting with David Pilatus and Scott at the time, and something really weird went down. But I get angry. It's like most human beings get angry when they get scared, right? So as I go hiking up the side of the mountain in the dark in that one particular place, I haven't been too polite with them. I've said basically every curse word you can come up with under my breath or gently out of my mouth as I'm climbing the mountain, basically saying, F you, stay the F away from me, just leave me alone, and if I have to, I'm going to put a huge hole in your head. And that's what I was doing for quite a while, and I didn't have a problem. haven't had a problem at all. But then, as you go and as I listen to these hundreds and thousands of people on this channel email me, my attitude somewhat changed to a little more polite tone, and I just say, just leave me alone, man. Just leave me alone. I know you're here. You know I'm here. Let's not ruin it for each other. All right? And that's what I've been doing. Obviously, the odd time where I was in Vancouver Island the other day is somewhere where I don't frequent like I do here. I don't know what that was that freaked the shit out of me. I didn't even waste any time saying anything. I just packed my stuff up and left. But how do you make it go away altogether? You might want to get a hold of Scott Carpenter. He'll have better advice for you in that department. Because me, I speak. I basically give him every curse word I got in my head, tell him what I think of him, and tell him to leave me alone or else shit's going to go down. If I get a chance to do something to him, I'll do it to him. It's what I used to do, and it seems like nothing's happened since then. So it's unfortunate. I don't know what's going on, man. It's like, isn't that weird? You shared your story, and then this thing starts popping up. It's like, does it want some attention? If it really wants some attention, send him this way. Tell him to pop out in front of the camera. We'll have a little chit-chat about whatever it is, the attention that this thing needs, right? It's kind of odd. But anyway, be safe, man. And I'm super, super stoked that you didn't quit. pack it in. I hate it when people quit. It makes me angry when people get their outdoor, all this stripped and stolen from them because they didn't know what the hell was they ran into. So good for you staying at it. All right, what do we got? Hey Steve, I'll get right to it. I've had a number of encounters with these beings ever since I was a child. I never really knew it. After I physically saw one while elk hunting near Packwood, Washington, I basically snuck up on it watching some runners stretch, which of course pissed me off since these kids ruined a great place to spot elk. But what the hell can you do? While I was kind of watching them, something caught my eye to the left, and that was my first encounter. I have no doubt that it knew I was there, but still kind of freaky. I quickly left the area, got in my truck, and left for home. I've had a few other whoops, howls, and some wood knocks around the Stevens Pass area, of which close to where I grew up. I never really felt like I was endangered from them until on June 23rd, 2019. I did a solo hike to one of my favorite lakes in the area, Lake Ethel. I've done it many, many times in the past, and I didn't think anything of it by hiking there alone on this day. I started off and everything was picture perfect. No wind, no extraordinary sounds, just my footsteps. Birds and the occasional light wind rustling, whatever it could grab. Birds and the occasional light wind rustling, whatever it could grab. I made it to the lake and was starting to get a little cloudy, and the wind picked up, so I thought I wouldn't fish and start heading back to the truck. We've been caught in summer snowstorms at this lake in the past, and I didn't want to take the chance. The trail from the lake heads up a light ridge, and then follows it a little bit, then crosses over some power lines, and then it switches back to the trailhead. When I reached the top of the ridge, I heard something about 100 to 150 yards to my left, thinking it was a deer or a bear running away, and I sat there watching to see if I could get a glimpse of it, but didn't. So I started heading down the ridge. So did the steps. Thumps and snaps followed me as well. When I stopped, of course, it stopped. It started to creep me out at this point. When I made it to the power lines, I felt a relief since it was wide open and you could see both directions as well all around me. Another group of people consisting of 3 adult ladies and 6 kids were coming up the trail. Not to alarm them, but to warn them, I told them that a deer was messing around further up the trail. This kept their eyes open and looking around without scaring them. When I was done looking at the views, I started off back down the trail. And here's where I got really frightened. And I've seen combat while I was in the Corps. During the switchbacks down, this thing knew exactly where the switchbacks were and would stop and go from the most western point of the switchback to the next western point and not following me the rest of the trail. It knew exactly where I'd be at a particular time and would situate itself to ambush me. Luckily, it never did. Made it back to my truck, got out of there, and never been back. The next day, I bought a pistol and a holster and always take it with me in the woods. 40 years of hiking in these woods, and I became a huge believer of you and Dave's message in an hour episode. I asked a Forest Service worker about the area, and she told me that they don't go up in the area unless they absolutely have to because of weird things that take place up there. And a local Sasquatch dude here, an honest, knowledgeable, good guy in the field, there are some, and I am lucky enough to have one locally, said the same thing by saying that there are some weird things happening up there. Anyway, since that day, my head swivels, my pistol rifle is ready to go when I go hiking now. Hope things are well. Take care, Stan. All right, Stan. Appreciate it, man. Does kind of suck to have to pack, right? Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't pack. Usually when I'm not packing is where it's a cloudy area to have a firearm. Canadian laws are kind of different in various areas, right? And then springtime, I usually always pack if I'm going to go in the middle of nowhere because the bears are coming up on rut in the spring. Not quite yet, but they will be soon. But, you know, you go into early spring, like right now, bears are hungry and kind of cranky. Grizzly bears here. And then there's other places if I have to go to some other place. If I have to go to some other places where these beings may or might possibly hang out quite a bit, I'll pack. Just because I want to make my own statement to just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. You know, it's not fair for them to keep picking on the little guy. You know what I mean? If they want to pick on somebody, go find a politician and pick on them or something. Go beat on their house and scream at them or follow them around. Leave us alone. Leave the innocent people alone. But anyway, I think I'm going to find a different position down this river, set up, and show you guys some unbelievable scenery and share some more while I'm here.